Hello, you are watching the news from Kazakhstan. I'm Marina Kim, and here are the top stories. Kazakhstan's chairmanship in the OSCE culminates with the organization's summit in Astana. Russian President Dmitry Medvedev was the first to leave the summit despite heavy blizzard in the capital of Kazakhstan. 300 real estate investors in Astana announced a hunger strike in hopes of drawing attention of foreign guests taking part in the OSCE summit. On Friday, December 1st, the most eagerly anticipated political event of the year, the summit of the OSCE, opened in Astana's Palace of Independence. Unfortunately, the president's administration did not manage to gather together all 55 heads of states, as was previously planned. Only 28 arrived to the forum held for the first time in 11 years. The G20 was represented only by Germany, Italy and Russia. The planned tranquility was subverted right from the start. Transnistria expressed its offense at the decision of Moldova's acting president not to take part in the summit. Azerbaijani president accused Armenia in his lack of interest to settle the Karabakh conflict peacefully. The head of Uzbek Foreign Affairs Ministry claimed the OSCE failed to do anything about the massacre in Osh. All of this was stopped when the time came to discuss the Georgian-Ossetian conflict. At the same time, while welcoming guests, Nursultan Nazarbayev ambitiously said the OSCE gradually reaches a new, broader level of security cooperation.
The OSCE summit was launched with a photo session, exchange of pleasantries and handshakes. The plenary session was opened by the initiator of the event, President Nazarbayev. He boldly stated that during Kazakhstan's chairmanship in the OSCE, the country managed to solve the long-standing conflicts in Nagorno-Karabakh and Transnistria, settle a political crisis in Kyrgyzstan. A severe political crisis in Kyrgyzstan could catalyze new conflicts in Central Asia. Kazakhstan, together with the United States and Russia, has used all OSCE instruments to prevent the escalation of the conflict. While the leader of Kazakhstan noted the role of the chairman in resolving regional conflicts, other speakers recalled the organization's credibility gap left since the Russian-Georgian conflict in 2008. On Wednesday, the U.S. State Secretary demanded to restore the OSCE mission in Georgia, while representatives of the European Council asked to preserve the territorial integrity.
We firmly support Georgia's sovereignty and territorial integrity. Therefore, we should continue our efforts within the Geneva negotiations to reinforce security and improve human rights protection in the region. I support OSCE presence in Georgia.
The main demand of Georgia itself was to strengthen ceasefire with Russia. Tbilisi will not support the final document of the conference unless it will reflect the interests of the country. In response, Russian President Dmitry Medvedev condemned the Georgian aggression and asked to develop common principles of conflict resolution. I repeat again that all problems must be settled peacefully. Using force like Georgia did against South Ossetia in 2008 is totally inadmissible. Uzbekistan also criticized OSCE and its chair. Foreign Affairs Minister Vladimir Norov said the organization did nothing at all to prevent inter-ethnic clashes in Kyrgyzstan this summer. The U.S. State Secretary, meanwhile, focused her attention on the general issues of democracy. She said that there is no need to accept principles. However, commitments should be followed.
It is not enough to design a national human rights plan if it isn't implemented. It is not enough for governments to empower only the civil society organizations they agree with while crippling others with legal restrictions and red tape. And it is not enough for a constitution to guarantee freedom of the press if in reality journalists are put under pressure and even assaulted. In fact, it is not enough just to hold elections. The whole process must be free and fair, with the benefit of monitoring by the OSCE.
Russia believes the OSCE is losing its capacity as a political institution and requires some changes. The USA expects the summit to produce a final document that will confirm the obligations of the member states. The Astana Declaration will be signed on Friday, on the day of the summit's official closing.
After speaking at the summit and the meeting with Nursultan Nazarbayev, Russian President Dmitry Medvedev left Astana despite the severe snowstorm. It was reported earlier that the Russian leader was scheduled to stay in Kazakhstan for the entire duration of the event. However, the Kazakh Foreign Ministry said Medvedev was actually done with his program already.
Russian President Dmitry Medvedev led Foreign Minister Sergei Lavrov signed the Astana Declaration. The official noted that Moscow opposes the mentioning of Georgian conflict in the OSCE documents. In response, Georgian President Mikhail Saakashvili said that the lack of mutual understanding between Moscow and Tbilisi prevents the adoption of the Astana Declaration. Once again, he urged Medvedev to enter the talks and assure his commitment to peaceful resolution of the Georgian-Ossetian conflict. At least Russian President Dmitry Medvedev is personally attending the summit in Astana, whereas the key figure and most anticipated guest of the event, Barack Obama, declined the invitation due to busy schedule. The French President Nicolas Sarkozy also excused himself. However, the most unexpected rejection came from the Uzbekistan leader Islam Karimov. Sources in Uzbek media claim Karimov has a firm position on the matter as he tried to negotiate some concessions from Astana in exchange for his participation. This is not the first time Karimov shows his attitude towards Kazakhstan, as in 2008 he declined the proposal of Nursultan Nazarbayev to create the Union of Central Asian States and also didn't attend the celebration of Astana's 10th anniversary. So far, Tashkent has yet to comment officially the absence of President Islam Karimov at the summit. If you want to find out why the President is not attending the summit, please contact his office press service.
Local and foreign press describes the general tone of experts and guests of the OSCE summit as cautious. Most addresses were somewhat restrained, with just a small hint of irritation. It seemed that participants had to save faces after the bidding for the OSCE chairmanship 2010 was resolved in favor of Kazakhstan.
The OSCE summit is running in set mode, with the media carefully divided into locals and guests. The latter, following the tradition of Eastern hospitality, are given all the best, like the ability to ask questions. But even this cannot save the organizers of the summit. The questions that Kazakh journalists were unable to ask the Foreign Affairs Ministry are asked by foreign reporters. After all, the WikiLeaks scandal is the second most discussed news following the event in Astana. Thus, questions about it were unavoidable.
Мы спокойно переживем и этот инцидент.
What has happened is the natural side effect which accompanies our work from time to time. Therefore, we will calmly overcome this incident, and as a foreign minister I can say that our strategic partnership with the US will not be affected in any significant way. The US Secretary of State made even vaguer statements, although not saying anything categorical. She did, however, noted no expressions of concern from partners were sent to her personally, and thus the work of the US diplomats will continue. At the same time, in her opening speech, Clinton hinted at the cost of the US participation in the summit.
I also thank Kazakhstan for the recently concluded air transit agreement that will help ensure the delivery of critical resources to Afghanistan.
Yanis Lenarčič, the director of the OSCE Office for Democratic Institutions and Human Rights, attempted to avoid several essentially the same questions over the frequent violation of human rights by Kazakhstan, the OSCE chair. The finally produced answer was quite vague and sounded suspiciously like the paraphrased motto, "To each according to his abilities."
That's why we have different approaches.
There is a difference, as some countries fulfill their obligations better than others due to different approaches based on different needs. Kazakhstan did everything it could to conduct the summit at the highest possible level. Perhaps the lenience to the organization's representatives, who contradict the very idea of the OSCE, is explained by the behind-the-scenes bargaining, not caught by reporters' cameras.
Kazakhstan's citizens observed contradictions with the OSCE principles for the entire year. Experts openly called the summit in Astana the culmination of a large-scale promotion campaign for Kazakhstan, supported only with hollow phrases about the democratization of the country's socio-political system. In reality, the pledge given to the global community in Madrid remained on paper. In the end, this was the year when Kazakh citizens got a leader of the nation with absolute authorities instead of proclaimed freedoms.
Earlier this year, the State Secretary Kanat Saudobayev was full of hopes and suggestions while trying on the duties of the OSCE chair.
Председательство Казахстана в ОБСЕ
I can now emphasize that Kazakhstan's chairmanship in the OSCE is a unique chance for our country, an opportunity to show our viability as a responsible and respected member of the international community. The announcement of Kazakhstan as chair of that important international organization led to the launch of a grand promotion campaign for the country, culminating with the suggestion to grant the president with the status of the leader of nation. Initially, Nursultan Nazarbayev opposed the idea.
Сколько я вам могу говорить об этом? Ну пусть другие говорят. Лидером признает народ.
How many times I have to tell you that only people can recognize a leader? It cannot be done through some papers or decrees. Stop it. I hate to sit and listen to these things said about me right in my presence. Despite this, the head of state didn't veto the bill and the status was consolidated, causing much outrage among the opposition and civil society. This made it impossible to follow a key principle of the OSCE, the free elections, says famous public activist Sirik Balsın Abdildin. During the presidency of the nation's leader, no elections or referendums were held in accordance to Kazakhstan's laws or international norms. That is why I do not consider him a leader of the nation. On the way to the democratization, the country even had to change its development strategy. The arrival of the bright future was now to happen 10 years sooner. Experts say that the hyped reason to be proud of the country which now chairs the OSCE with its enormous domestic production is a classical form of cheating people through statistical ploys. All of these innovations are needed for the people to believe that everything is bad now, but by certain year in the future everything will be better. So pull your belts, be patient and wait. In reality, nothing happened this year. No enterprises producing goods made in Kazakhstan were built to make us proud that they are sold around the world. Another promise of the government as part of its OSCE obligations is something the opposition has been waiting for a long time: the establishment of the civil society, human rights principles and freedom of speech. All of this ended up being a myth, says the leader of the party Alga, Vladimir Kozlov, who served 30 days in jail this year for holding unsanctioned rallies. Speaking of freedom of speech during Kazakhstan's chairmanship, a new legal norm was adopted which allows imprisoning reporters for up to 7 years. This can happen if an official will accuse a journalist of invading his privacy during an investigation of his corruption activities. This was done during Kazakhstan's chairmanship. With another norm, citizens who intentionally or accidentally damage images of the president can be sentenced up to 1 year in prison. The most expensive promotion campaign of the chairmanship is definitely the summit of heads of member states, with final price tag of almost 11 million euros. However, all claims of Kazakh government to quickly solve the underlying problems accumulated for centuries are ridiculous, says politician Amirjan Kasanov. He predicts that by the end of the chairmanship, the packed picture of democracy and equality could collapse and bury someone underneath its remains. The fact that the authorities do not touch upon the issues of democracy or kill, persecute and imprison the opposition is seen by us as loyalty, and it is wrong. Unfortunately, the situation can only get worse after the summit, when all the guests will depart and all diplomatic courtesies and protocol compliments will end up presented to the people as the highest achievement of our domestic and foreign policy. Despite all attempts of the government to continue its current campaign, the OSCE Secretary-General Marc-Perrin de Brichambaut said recently that during the event, some of its participants could present divergent views of Kazakhstan's achievements. It is simply unreasonable to hope for leaders of other states to simply nod in agreement to every word of the incumbent chairman, just as was proven during the first day of the summit.